The creature wasn't supposed to feel anything. At least, nothing except hunger and violence. Apex. 9 had torn through 9 elite handlers, each death more brutal than the last. Entire squads feared even walking past its containment floor. But when the lift doors slid open and a tiny human toddler stepped inside, everything changed. Alarms blared. Soldiers froze. And the 6-ton war beast, engineered to shred through bunker walls, slowly lowered its head and wagged its armored tail as if greeting an old friend. Why her? Why now? And what did humanity just unlock? If stories like this pull you in, strange mysteries, unexpected twists, and moments that make you say, okay, humans are terrifying, then go ahead and hit like. Subscribe so you don't miss the next HFY deep dive, and share this with someone who loves sci-fi that feels almost too real. Alright, let's break this one open. Commander Threll had seen battlefields turn to ash, cities swallowed by plasma storms, and fleets ripped apart by weapons that should have never existed. But none of that, not a single nightmare from his long career, compared to the thing pacing inside Containment Chamber A5. Apex 9, 6 tons of engineered rage wrapped in armor-plated scales, each one shaped like the edge of a blade. Its teeth could shear through starship hulls. Its tail could split steel beams like wet paper. And right now, every step it took echoed through the reinforced floor like a countdown to someone's death. Again, because Apex 9 didn't just kill its handlers, it annihilated them. 9 elite soldiers in 3 months. 9 experts who trained for years, armed with the best tech the Galactic Coalition had ever produced. Each one confident they could handle the creature. Each one gone within minutes. The cleaning drones were still picking bits of Handler 9 out of the ventilation system. Threll had watched it happen through the observation deck window. One moment the candidate was confidently reading off command protocols, and the next, Apex 9 lunged with a speed that shouldn't be possible for something that large. The war beast tore through the energy barrier at precisely the 1/1,000,000th of a second when the field fluctuated for recalibration, a timing no one thought it could detect. But it had. It always learned. And now, Threll had to find a way to explain 9 corpses to High Command by morning. He rubbed 2 of his 4 temples and groaned, a sound halfway between pain and the beginnings of a nervous breakdown. I swear, he muttered, that creature's goal is to end my career one handler at a time. Lieutenant Prax stood stiffly beside him, mandibles trembling with anxiety. Commander, with respect, we are out of species to try. Vorian handlers, Kryllian handlers, even those terrifying ticket berserkers. Lasted 4 minutes and 12 seconds, Threll snapped. I remember the exact timestamp. Prax nodded miserably. Sir, we must consider shutting the project down. Threll closed his eyes. He wished. Oh, how he wished. But shutting down a multi-billion credit flagship program, one personally championed by Admiral Voss, wouldn't just end his career. It would erase him from the Coalition registry entirely. No one survived, disappointing Voss. Threll leaned over the railing and watched Apex 9 circle again. Every time it passed beneath the observation deck window, its red eyes lifted just enough to lock onto Threll's position, calculating, evaluating. Not angry, not hungry, something worse. Waiting. Why? Threll hissed under his breath. Does it always look like it's planning? Prax tapped the datapad nervously. Perhaps, Commander, because it is. Before Threll could respond, his communicator buzzed. One glance at the message nearly made his tendrils curl. High Command arrival. Tomorrow. Request program status. In person. Threll felt his stomach drop so fast it might have cracked through the floor. No. I'm not ready for this. The station isn't ready. The reports aren't ready. The creature isn't ready. Nothing is ready. Sir, Prax asked carefully, should I prepare the termination protocols? Threll spun on him. Do you want to be the one who tells High Command their prototype war beast, the most expensive biological weapon in 3 sectors, was euthanized because we couldn't figure out how not to get it eaten? Prax's antennae wilted. No, sir. Good, Threll muttered. Because I'd rather face Apex 9 myself than face Admiral Voss after killing his passion project. A deep, rumbling vibrated through the deck. Apex 9 had stopped pacing. It stood still, head tilted slightly upward as if sensing something Threll couldn't. Then, with slow, deliberate intent, it lowered itself onto its haunches. Waiting again, Threll felt sweat bead at his temples. What is it doing? Prax swallowed. Sir, it's like it knows someone important is coming. Impossible, Threll said automatically. But even as he said it, his communicator buzzed again. He checked the screen. His blood froze. Unscheduled arrival. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez. Human delegation approaching docking bay 1. Note, family on board. Threll's jaw dropped. Family. What do humans consider a family? Is it large? Is it unpredictable? Prax clicked nervously. They are known for bringing young. Threll nearly fainted. Young humans? On a station? With a creature that had shredded armored soldiers like confetti? Great Spiral protect me, he whispered. He didn't have time to panic. A klaxon blared station-wide, the docking signal. Threll and Prax sprinted from the observation deck, heels clattering on the polished metal floors as the docking bay doors opened. Ambassador Rodriguez stepped out first, posture perfect, eyes sharp, exuding the calm authority of someone who negotiated with empires for breakfast. Behind her came Jake Rodriguez, her husband, slightly rumpled and wearing a shirt that said Galaxy's okay, Dad. Then came the problem. Small, human, adorable, tiny shoes, pink overalls, a stuffed dinosaur clutched in her hand. The toddler. Threll stared at her with the same fear one might reserve for an arm bomb. Ambassador, he said, voice cracking, welcome to Omega 7. Commander, she greeted warmly. This is Jake, and this little comet is Mia. Mia giggled and immediately tried to chase a maintenance drone. Jake sighed. Sweetheart, no. That's not a toy. That's a very expensive floaty thing. Threll wanted to scream. Instead, he forced a smile. A delight, truly, as he led them through the corridors, showing every safe and sanitized section of the station. Threll prayed Mia would stay close. Stay calm. Stay anywhere that wasn't sublevel 5. But fate, especially human fate, rarely cooperated. Because as soon as Threll turned to adjust the display, as Jake reached for a juice box, as Elena checked the datapad, Mia vanished. Gone. Silent. Fast. Jake looked up, eyes going wide. Elena's datapad dropped. Threll's heart exploded into pure terror. Oh no, Threll whispered. Oh no, no, no. Where is the child? Prax sprinted to the nearest panel. Pulling security feed now. The footage played. Mia toddled out of the room, turned left, took the maintenance hallway, then stopped in front of the access lift. The lift to sublevel 5. The lift to Apex 9. The lift doors slid open. Mia walked in, turned around, and waved cheerfully at the camera. The doors closed. Threll's entire soul left his body. She's going to the War Beast containment level. The monster that killed 9. Jake's voice cut like a blade. Calm. Controlled. Where is my daughter? Prax pointed. Jake's face went pale. Then he ran. Threll ran with him, lungs burning, mind screaming. The corridors blurred past. The alarms grew louder. They reached sublevel 5 in record time. The observation deck was full of stunned soldiers. Threll shoved through and looked down, and what he saw didn't make sense. Mia stood inside the chamber. Apex 9, 6 tons of death, lay flat on its belly, like a dog waiting for affection. Its tail swished. Softly, slowly, almost happily. Mia giggled. Big puppy. Threll's brain melted. And the galaxy, in that moment, quietly changed forever. The silence inside the observation deck felt unreal, too heavy, too deep, like the universe itself was holding its breath. Soldiers who had spent their entire careers staring down artillery fire were frozen in place, unable to process what they were seeing. Apex 9, the creature that shredded armored handlers like they were made of paper, was lying on its stomach, tail sweeping the floor in slow, content arcs. And tiny Mia Rodriguez, 3 years old, 14 kilograms, carrying a stuffed dinosaur named Bippy, stood beside the monster with the same calmness a child shows when petting a neighbor's golden retriever. Threll couldn't breathe. Impossible, Lieutenant Prax whispered. Her proximity alone should trigger a hostile response. The pheromone charts predict. No chart predicted this. Threll croaked, gripping the railing until his knuckles turned purple. This is some cosmic glitch. Down below, Mia reached out a small hand and patted Apex 9's snout. The war beast, whose bite could shear through composite titanium, shuddered, lowered its head further, and gently nudged closer for more affection. A massive, living weapon snuggling. Every soldier in the observation deck flinched as though reality had just bent sideways. Jake arrived seconds later, breathless, eyes locked on the scene below. His body tensed like a tightly coiled spring, but his voice stayed eerily calm. The kind of calm Threll only saw in Special Forces veterans. Open the damn door. Threll blinked. Absolutely not. That's my daughter in there. That is a 6-ton, multi-genome apex predator engineered for frontline annihilation. Jake's eyes stayed fixed on the beast. And my kid just made it lie down. Threll hesitated. The logic made no sense, but then nothing about today had made sense. Elena arrived behind Jake, voice sharp but trembling. Threll, let him in, or he'll find his own way, and blow your station up in the process. Prax raised a hand timidly. Commander, with respect, he will find another way. Threll groaned into his palms. Everything hurt. Fine, but I'm writing in the official report that I oppose this with my entire soul. He slammed the override. Door opening. Every soldier held their breath. Jake descended the containment stairs quietly, his steps slow and deliberate. He didn't shout, didn't run, didn't posture like the previous handlers had been trained to do. He walked like a father approaching a skittish dog in a yard full of broken glass. Down below, Apex 9's red eyes snapped toward him. The tail stopped wagging. The monster straightened slightly, and the air grew tight with danger. Every sensor readout on the monitors spiked red. Dad, Mia, chirp happily. I found puppy. Jake didn't break eye contact with the war beast. Yeah, sweetheart. I see the puppy. Threll nearly fainted. Jake wasn't running. He wasn't raising his arms. He wasn't even sweating. He knelt down slowly, making himself smaller. Apex 9 growled, a deep, rolling sound that shook dust from the ventilation shafts. Prax whispered, "This is where he dies." But something subtle was happening. Jake wasn't showing fear, not even a flicker. To Apex 9, that was new. Every previous handler had vibrated with terror. Their adrenaline levels spiked the moment they stepped inside. Their body language screamed dominance battle threat. Jake radiated one message. I'm not here to fight you. Slowly, inch by inch, he reached toward the side of the creature's head, toward a place where a normal animal might enjoy being scratched. Elena, Threll muttered. Your husband is insane. Obviously, she whispered back, trembling. I married a Marine. Apex 9's nostrils flared. It leaned forward. A centimeter. Another. Then, Jake's fingers brushed just behind the plated ear ridge. Threll's heart stopped. The war beast's eyes widened, then narrowed. Then, it purred. Not a growl, not a rumble of threat. A soothing, content purr that shook the chamber like a low engine. Threll slammed both hands on the railing. I can purr. We did not design purring. Prax flailed. We did not design it either. Maybe it improvised. Jake kept scratching the beast, steady, gentle, intentional. Yeah, you like that, don't you, big guy? Who's a good, horrifying weapon of mass destruction? Apex 9 closed its massive eyes and leaned into the touch. The observation deck erupted in stunned whispers. Jake scooped Mia into his arms with one hand, still petting the war beast with the other. Say bye to the puppy, sweetheart. Bye, puppy. Apex 9 rumbled softly, sadly, almost, as it followed them from the center of the chamber to the exit gate, stopping just short of the doorway, like a loyal guard escorting them out. Threll felt his knees weaken. He rested heavily against the window, eyes wide, mind shattered into a million stunned fragments. It is following him, Prax breathed. Why is it following him? Jake stepped out of the chamber as calmly as someone leaving a grocery store. He handed Mia to Elena, then turned to Threll with the level gaze of a man who had absolutely had enough for one day. "All right, Commander," Jake said, rolling his shoulders. "You want to tell me what the hell that thing is?" 30 minutes later, the conference room was filled with data pads, jittery officers, and one very exhausted toddler eating a cookie like nothing significant had happened. Dr. Kelvin, the station's human xenobiologist, sat forward, eyes shining with something between excitement and existential crisis. "Commander," he said, voice trembling, "I believe I know what happened." Threll pinched the bridge of his nose. "Enlighten me before my brain implodes." Kelvin activated a hologram showing wolves, big cats, and ancient Earth predators. "Humans," he said, "evolve around apex predators for hundreds of thousands of years. But instead of being wiped out, we made friends with them." Threll stared. "That sounds like an evolutionary accident." "Exactly," Kelvin said. "Humans have a psychological quirk, a compulsion to emotionally bond with dangerous creatures. Wolves became dogs. Wildcats became companions. Even horses can kill, but humans turn them into partners." Jake shrugged. "Pretty much." Kelvin continued, growing more animated. "Your handlers approached Apex 9 with dominance. Threat behavior. Fear. Humans? Humans approach lethal animals with affection, curiosity, and an absurd lack of self-preservation." Elena tapped her chin. So Mia wasn't afraid. Prax nodded slowly. And Jake didn't show threat posturing. Kelvin slapped the table. Apex 9 didn't react as a weapon. It reacted as an animal. They treated it like something that could be friend-shaped. And so it behaved like something that could be friend-shaped. Threll stared at Jake. "Your daughter just broke the most dangerous bioweapon in Coalition history." Jake shrugged again. "Kids do that sometimes." Kelvin leaned closer, voice rising with excitement. "Commander, humans might be the only species capable of bonding with war beasts like this." Threll stared, mind reeling, career flashing before his eyes. Then Mia toddled over, tugged his sleeve, and asked with perfect innocence, "Can Puppy come play again?" Threll made a sound no military commander should ever make. The galaxy had changed today, and none of them were ready. Commander Threll stood in the conference room, surrounded by data pads, coffee cups, and the lingering smell of toddler snacks. Half the station staff had either fainted, resigned, or prayed to their respective gods. Meanwhile, Jake Rodriguez sat casually in a chair, arms crossed, as if he hadn't just tamed a 6-ton weapon of mass destruction with a head scratch. Dr. Kelvin, human xenobiologist, chaos enthusiast, and someone who had not slept since the incident, paced the room with frantic energy. "I need everyone's attention," he said breathlessly, "because what happened today rewrites everything we know about cross-species behavioral dynamics." Threll groaned. "Can we rewrite it in a way that doesn't involve me being executed by Admiral Voss?" But Kelvin was already pulling up holograms. Images of wolves, saber-toothed cats, massive prehistoric bears, then dogs, house cats, horses, and even a raccoon for some reason. "Let me be clear," Kelvin said, jabbing at the images. "Humans are biologically insane. Truly. Absolutely. Clinically." Jake sipped his drink. "Thank you, I guess." Kelvin spun toward him. "Not an insult. An evolutionary miracle disguised as stupidity." Threll massaged his temples. "Please speak in words that won't make my head explode." Kelvin inhaled sharply. "All right, listen carefully. Humans don't fear predators the way other species do. They bond with them. They pack bond with anything." Threll blinked. "Anything?" Kelvin held up a finger. "Humans have befriended wolves, lions, elephants, apex avians, venomous reptiles, and documented cases of taming wild bears with pastries." Jake nodded. "Bear was named Cinnamon. Good guy." Threll gagged. "That is not normal." "Exactly," Kelvin cried. "Humans lack the instinct to see a predator as untouchable. Instead, they try to negotiate friendship." Threll turned to Elena. "Is this true?" Elena shrugged. "More or less. Jake once tried to adopt a coyote. It was friendly, Jake argued. It bit the mailman, she replied. Kelvin slammed both hands on the table. This is why Apex 9 didn't attack Mia. She approached it without fear, without dominance, without threat, just pure, harmless curiosity. Thrall stared at the hologram of Apex 9's kill statistics. Explain then why it didn't kill Jake. He is not a toddler. Kelvin grinned. Jake approached it like a dog trainer. Jake raised a hand. To be fair, I've trained 3 Rottweilers and 1 German Shepherd. This wasn't that different. Not that different, Thrall screeched. It could swallow you whole. Most things can, Jake replied, unbothered. Kelvin cleared his throat and pulled up a new hologram, showing Apex 9's brain. We engineered the war beast with high adaptive intelligence, problem solving, emotional responsiveness. But your handlers trained it with dominance protocols, fear, pain, punishment. He pointed at a red highlighted section. All you taught it was that handlers meant danger. Every interaction was a fight. Thrall sank into his chair. Great spiral. We created the galaxy's angriest toddler. Kelvin nodded. Exactly. And it responded with violence because violence was the only language it had been taught. Prax muttered, so when Mia walked in, Kelvin's eyes gleamed. She didn't represent danger. She represented novelty. Kindness. Scent profile. Harmless. Vocal tone. High-pitched, friendly. Body posture. Relaxed. Elena added. And small children are unpredictable. Kelvin grinned. Which Apex 9 interpreted as non-threat chaotic energy. Thrall blinked. Non-threat chaos? It's a scientific term, Kelvin lied quickly. Jake leaned forward. Let me guess. Apex 9 wasn't calm because Mia was special. It was calm because she acted like an animal that doesn't know enough to be afraid. Kelvin pointed at him, thrilled. Yes. Humans are unique because they can override their survival instincts when forming emotional connections. Apex 9 sensed the sincerity. Thrall stared between them, horrified. Are you telling me the toddler used emotional diplomacy? Kelvin nodded proudly. Exactly. Thrall dropped his face into his hands. I hate everything about today. But things were about to get worse, for Thrall and better for the fate of the galaxy. Jake stood up. So here's what we're going to do. We? Thrall echoed. Yep, Jake said, cracking his knuckles. You're going to let me into that chamber again. And this time, I'm going to train Apex 9 properly. Thrall choked. Properly? You mean with treats? Jake nodded. Protein bars. Got a whole stash. What kind of military training uses treats? Ours, Elena said. We literally raised a child with them. Thrall threw his arms into the air. This is madness. Jake shrugged. Your method killed 9 people. Mine seems promising. Kelvin chimed in. Commander, imagine if this works. Humans could become the official handlers for the entire program. No other species can do what they do. Thrall stared at the hologram of Apex 9, leaning toward Mia, purring. A nightmare made gentle by a tiny human. He felt something deep in his chest shift. Maybe desperation. Maybe hope. Maybe stupidity. Hard to tell. Fine, Thrall said at last, pointing a trembling finger at Jake. 1 week. 1 week to prove humans can handle the war beasts. Jake saluted casually. Deal. Prax raised a timid claw. Sir, should we prepare safety protocols? No. Jake answered instead. If you treat it like an enemy, it acts like an enemy. Kelvin nodded vigorously. Exactly. Thrall sighed. I'm going to die. Jake clapped him on the shoulder. Probably not. Not reassuring. And so, the training began. Day 1. Jake sat on the floor of the containment chamber, cross-legged, offering a protein bar like he was meeting a reluctant dog at a shelter. Apex 9 sniffed, growled, sniffed again, then gently took the treat. Thrall screamed into a pillow. Day 2. Mia joined them, building block towers while Apex 9 watched like a fascinated creature seeing a small wizard perform magic. When she knocked the tower down, Apex 9 flinched, then gently nudged a block back toward her. Thrall considered early retirement. Day 3. Jake started basic commands. Hand signals. Soft voice. Patience. Apex 9 hesitated. Then sat. Threll fainted briefly in the observation deck. Day 4. Jake introduced a hovering drone. Apex 9 fetched a ball instead and then dropped it at Jake's feet like a giant, armored retriever. Threll contemplated religion. Day 5. Volunteer handlers, humans only, entered the chamber under Jake's supervision. Apex 9 tolerated them. Not happily, but tolerated. Threll hyperventilated. Day 6. Jake introduced other war beasts. Ones considered too vicious to even approach. Within an hour, they were lying together in what could only be described as a lethal cuddle pile. Threll questioned the nature of reality. By the time the week ended, one thing was clear. Humans hadn't just broken the rules of biology. They'd rewritten them. And the galaxy would never be the same. 3 months later, Station Omega 7 didn't feel like a military facility anymore. It felt alive. And for Commander Threll, that was somehow far more terrifying. Where there were once warning sirens, armored barriers, and security drones whirring like angry insects, there were now war beasts lounging in corners like house pets the size of shuttles. Apex 9 slept by the cargo ramp, snout resting on its paws, letting a human handler scratch behind its plated ear while reading tactical reports. 3 other war beasts, behemoths once classified as terminate on sight, played tug-of-war with a reinforced cargo net. Sparks shot out when their claws scraped metal, but they were gentle with each other, careful even. A sight Threll would have once called impossible. Now it was his Tuesday morning. Jake Rodriguez walked proudly across the hangar in a vest labeled War Beast Whisperer. Threll still wasn't sure if it was meant to be sarcastic or accurate. At this point, it felt like both. "Morning, Commander," Jake called, ducking under the tail of a drowsy war beast named Ripper. "Morning," Threll muttered, staring in disbelief at a war beast doing what looked suspiciously like a yoga stretch. "I still do not understand how any of this happened." Jake grinned. "Treats and patience. Works on toddlers, dogs, and apparently apex predators." Threll pinched the bridge of his nose. "You are all insane." "Yup," Jake replied cheerfully. "But it works." And it did. Against all logic. Against centuries of xenobiological data. Against the Coalition's deepest fears. It worked. Threll's communicator pinged. "Incoming, Galactic Council delegation." And right behind it, Ambassador Elena Rodriguez, her husband, and their daughter Mia. This, technically, was not what terrified him. What terrified him was the second notification. Event scheduled today. MIA Rodriguez, 4th birthday party. Attendance, 6 war beasts. Decor theme, glitter and dinosaurs. Threll closed the notification. Why is her birthday party happening here? On a military station. With war beasts. Jake shrugged. She wanted her puppies at the party. Threll stared at him. The puppies weigh 6 tons and could flatten a dropship. Jake grinned. Kids have weird taste. Before Threll could respond, the hangar doors opened, and the Galactic Council delegation entered, robes flowing, voices whispering in awe and fear. At their center stood Counselor Run, a dignified diplomat with shimmering blue skin. Rin took one step into the hangar and froze. Apex 9 rolled over onto its back, legs in the air, while a handler scratched its armored stomach. Rin blinked. "Commander, is that creature asking for belly rubs?" Threll exhaled through his nose. "Unfortunately, yes." Rin whispered, I need to sit down." Moments later, the inspection began. War beasts performed synchronized tactical movements under human command, flanking maneuvers, perimeter sweeps, coordinated charges that rumbled through the hangar like thunder. Council members watched in absolute shock as these biological superweapons followed human instructions with flawless precision. Threll might have taken pride in it if he weren't still hovering on the edge of panic. Then came the second part of the event, Mia's birthday party. 6 war beasts lined up neatly in a semicircle, wearing party hats. Apex 9's was pink, with glitter, and a tiny bow. Rin whispered, "Commander, you allowed this?" "No," Threll said. "I merely failed to stop it." Mia bounced into the hangar, wearing a dinosaur-themed birthday outfit and holding a cupcake with galactic sprinkles. She walked straight up to Apex 9 and booped its nose. The war beast purred, loudly enough that dust shook off the rafters. Council members reeled back. One fainted silently. Mia fed each war beast a piece of cake. They accepted their portions with the delicate precision of creatures who knew upsetting the child would be a universe-ending mistake. Elena took photos. Jake supervised like a proud trainer. Thrall questioned every life decision that led him to this moment. Smile, Elena called. Apex 9 tilted its head, party hat slipping sideways, glowing red eyes softening. The resulting photo would later circulate across 3 sectors with a caption, "Humans can befriend anything." After the cake, gifts, and a brief incident where Ripper ate an entire piñata, stick included, the official inspection continued. Counselor Wren approached Thrall, visibly shaken. "Commander," Wren said, voice hushed, "this program, it is beyond extraordinary." Thrall didn't answer at first. He watched as Mia climbed onto Apex 9's back, and the war beast carried her in slow circles around the hangar. Careful, steady, almost proud. Finally, he said, "I don't understand how they do it. The humans. I truly don't." Wren clasped his hands. "You may not need to understand it. You only need to realize what it means." "And what does it mean?" Thrall asked. Wren's gaze followed Mia, riding the war beast like a living throne. "That humanity's greatest strength is compassion, weaponized compassion. They're able to reach hearts we never knew existed, even inside monsters." Thrall considered that. Weaponized compassion. Impossible. Illogical. And yet, there it was. Just then, Jake approached, wiping frosting off his shirt. "Commander." Ripper learned how to roll over. "Want to see?" "No." Thrall lied instantly. Jake smirked. "You totally want to see." Thrall sighed. "Fine." They walked over to the training mats. Ripper, a colossal beast with too many teeth and very few thoughts, sat obediently. "Ripper," Jake commanded. "Roll." The war beast rolled, all the way over, then wiggled like a puppy waiting for praise. The handler gave a protein bar. "Good boy." Thrall didn't scream. He didn't faint. He simply accepted his fate. This was normal now. Later that night, after the council had left and the war beasts were dozing peacefully, Thrall stood alone on the observation deck. Apex 9 slept below, Mia's stuffed dinosaur tucked carefully between its legs. Jake joined him, offering a drink. "Pretty wild day, huh?" Thrall nodded. 3 months ago, I thought my career was over. And now? Jake asked. Thrall stared down at the gentle giant below. "Now, my station runs on juice boxes and the power of human insanity." Jake laughed. "Hey, it could be worse." "How?" Thrall demanded. "You could be explaining to High Command why we need to order party supplies for the war beasts next year." Thrall groaned. "Please tell me you're joking." Jake sipped his drink, grinning. "Buddy, Mia's already planning a sleepover." Apex 9 yawned, revealing crystalline teeth capable of slicing starship armor, and snuggled closer to the stuffed dinosaur. Thrall shook his head slowly. "The galaxy," he whispered, "is insane." Jake raised his drink. "Welcome to humanity." And somehow, everything made sense.